What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Cavalcade. And I know in my last video on Prismatic Evolutions, I had the vibe of is Prismatic Evolutions saved because of the announcement that the Pokemon Company had released, ensuring collectors that we would be getting reprints and that kind of stuff. So not to worry too much. Don't have to have too much FOMO. More product will be coming. But I think the sad reality of that fact is that unless you are vigilant in knowing when the reprints will be coming in, pre-ordering if you're able to. Here in Australia, I know that you can't because most of the pre-orders would have been done in this first wave, which actually pushed back into the second wave. So the likelihood that you'll be seeing pre-orders popping up here in Australia at the very least, it's pretty slight to minimal. I have been assured by places like EB and all that kind of stuff with cancelled pre-orders and all that kind of stuff, there's a possibility that you'll see pre-orders pop up for a very short time, at which point you probably should jump on it straight away if you are in the need and in the want to be opening up Prismatic Evolutions, because right now, price per pack is actually insane here in Australia. We've seen it go for $25 up to in excess of $30 per packet. Obviously, most big box stores like Kmart, Target, Big W, JB, they've been pretty good with handing out product at proper prices. More independent kind of stores, I won't name any names, have gone to the point where they've been unboxing their product and selling the packets off for a higher premium. And then you've got your local card game stores, which I guess at this point they're kind of feeling like they're forced to sell product on launch day at market value, which is here in Australia for Kmart, you can get ETBs for 80, Big W sells it for 100, Target, when they eventually have their stuff, will more than likely be around the Kmart range. But then you've got local card game stores selling them for like in excess of $200 each, and there's obviously a lot of outcry about it. I can understand the the 2, but not so much the 4 as it's from a retailer's point of view. But at the same time, it's hard. It's a very sticky situation. It kind of brings up the fact, or the point of, is scalping good or bad? And it's gonna be inherently viewed as bad. And for me, it's a middle ground. It depends on how bad you go or how low you go. I remember being in the line on launch day and then being probably about 5th in line or so. Obviously, the place had limits in place of like two per product per person. And I remember hearing a few people out at the front of the line saying to the cashier that, oh, you know, if there wasn't any limits, I would have bought everything you had. And then you kind of just had that drop in your stomach at that point, just thinking, okay, that's cool. That's real cool. It's a little bit sad. It depends on how far you go. Like, if you know very well that there are going to be people that buy the stuff to keep sealed because they like looking at a sealed collection, that's cool. You're going to have people that will use their limits to make a bit of extra money on release day. That's also cool in a sense. What's not cool are people that are actually, in terms of like being completely malicious. There's been a few stories popping up. I mean, besides all the TikToks and videos you see of like people absolutely physically assaulting each other in like America and all that kind of stuff at Costco's and everything like that for product, and like literally watching kids walk away from the situation pretty upset. Then here in Australia, there's like a story of somebody basically knowing people, like managers and stuff at Kmart's and Big W's, and you're not meant to be holding release day product and that kind of stuff, but they have. And you have people that have lined up like an hour before, probably an hour and a half, 2 hours before opening time at just random Big W or random Kmart. Doors open, everyone's orderly, they walk in a like a single file fashion. Everything's by the book. Everything is how you would expect any typical hyped up launch day to be. And unfortunately, they've all gone there, you'd expect all those people to actually get product by that end of that morning, because let's be honest, within half an hour of every single store opening in Australia, everything was gone. If they had stock, everything was gone in half an hour, because it'd be like handed out. Okay, everyone's gone home. The place is as deathly quiet as it was an hour before they all got there. But one of the stories I heard was that exact same scenario, and that store ran out of stock after 10 products, and everyone's like, how? What's going on? And then, you know, the managers obviously let rip that, oh yeah, someone called up the night before and put 30 ETBs on hold. And then, almost by sheer magic or pantomime, the person that's done that has walked up beside walked past the entire line and said, yep, that's me. They've asked for his ID, it's him, and he's just casually, with probably the biggest terrible grin you've ever seen, with a trolley of 30 ETBs, just walking out and just, you know, it's pretty sad. It's a case of the rich get richer. It's who you know, not what you know, but also at the same time what you know, because you know who to go to and what to do. And there's going to be twos and fours and against and that kind of stuff. For me, I'm down the line. Scalping with the intention of not collecting at all, or buying in high quality, like high volumes, with the intention to not collect at all and just to make money, and considering the situation, like, read the room, right? I think that's terrible. There are obviously other people out there that collect but also need a bit of money, so they've got knowledge of the hobby, and depending on how hard you scalp, then that's when you start to fall into my categories of terrible, understandable, and yeah, go for it. Like, people that are like, you know, you need, like, they need money. They need money right then and there. That's cool. You know, this is like a good opportunity to do it. Unfortunately, there are obviously still going to be people thinking that you're a full-blown scalper, and they're going to think you're the most terrible person in the world. I, on the other hand, can sympathize with the fact some collectors out there do need money, or some collectors out there, and it's actually hard, because I feel like in this time period, a lot of people that went in to get product to open very quickly felt as it was a crime to open that product they had just gotten. You know, you've gone in bright-eyed and early. You've managed to get your 2 ETB limit on that day, or poster collections, or binder collections, or text sticker packs, or anything like that. And then you've gone into a Facebook group, and you've seen the prices, and you immediately feel as though you can't open it. You feel like you're committing a crime at that point, opening. You're like, well, what do I do? Is it even... And then obviously the hysteria of our bad pull rates and this and that, and you get FOMO of actually opening it, in the sense of, if I open it, then I've done something bad. It's a very sticky situation right now for the hobby. I can only hope that they reprint it into the absolute ground, but unfortunately, and you know, we've had a few sets before, and like, not beforehand, Paladin Fates, I'm expecting to kind of go through the hysteria soon. I mean, it already has. If you see places with Paladin Fates product, then it's obviously too overpriced. But it's going to get to the point where that too overpriced is the right median for the market, but then that place that has it overpriced will bump it up again, and that's another thing that I don't like. That's another thing I do disagree with. Independent brick and mortar stores, like, I'm not talking about like your usual, like, your independent sellers that, you know, do whatever. The ones that are like like they've been in a brick and mortar type building for like 60 plus years or something, and they're using market prices for product, and I feel like that's terrible. I feel like that's taking people for a big ride. It doesn't feel good to look at. It doesn't feel good to experience, and unfortunately, Prismatic Evolutions, and I called this a while ago. It's actually kind of funny how this set came along, because I was just talking with friends and that kind of stuff, and they all thought I was just... They all told me that I probably should get checked, or if I'm on something at that point. I was like, oh yeah, there's going to definitely be an Evolving Skies version 2 at some point during Scarlet Violet. I'm calling it. And keep in mind, I made that call right after Obsidian Flames came out, so no mention of it. Okay, no mention of it. I've got... The people that I said this to can vouch for me. I'm not lying. Like, there's gonna be V2. And then shortly after 151 for Japanese came out, I was like, yeah, I don't see them printing that for English for R151. I don't see that at all because it's Japanese print. They always have the cooler stuff. But then probably about like a month after 151 came out, I was like, remember how I made that V2 Evolving Skies call? Yeah, they're gonna print Pokeballs and Master Balls in that. I betcha. That was like even a far out call to the point. It was like, yeah, the only way you're gonna know that if your dad is a CEO of a Pokemon company. And then lo and behold, it happened, and it was like, how did you know? What kind of call is that? That makes no sense how you could make that call. Unfortunately, it's one of those ones where it's like, I hate the fact that I was right, almost down to the T, and at the same time, the call of that this set was also going to be far more valuable than 151 was also made, probably about 2 months before this release. Again, I got the side look saying, why would you say that over 151? But it's Evolutions. It's the trend already started kicking off before it came out. When it got released, like, typically speaking, if a newer set of an older set is coming out, so Evolving Skies was the previous one, and then you have Prismatic Evolutions coming out, you would expect some of the Evolving Skies to dip in price, dip in market value, singles, sealed product, all that kind of stuff. Like, fair enough, it's older. It's a very thing, but you kind of expect it not to... You would have expectation that it would go up maybe slightly, or just stay the same, or go down considerably. The moment Prismatic Evolutions was announced, Evolving Skies shot through the roof, and it was like, that's not a good sign. That's not a good sign at all, to the point that I was like, oh no. I think, and this was literally on just the announcement for the Japanese set. And it was like, okay, so the Japanese set's that, and we found out immediately at that point that it's going to be a holiday set for us, a special set for us. I was like, I have a funny feeling that on launch day, boxes are going to be resold for 2 to 3 times the amount of retail. And obviously, that's an absorbent estimation, a guesstimation, right? Like that's a weird prophecy to make at that point. Obviously, again, got the side eye of like, there's no way, it's 151s around. You're telling me it's going to be more expensive than a 151 ETB right now that's been out since whatever, and it's hard to get hold of, right? And at that point, or at this point right now, like, I think 151 ETBs in Australia is like about $240. Launch day, people were buying stock from people for up from $250 to $280 a box of ETBs. Not a case, just a box, just one single box. And it was upsetting at the same time because I knew that I didn't have any stock coming in. I knew that I wasn't going to be having a lot to open on launch day, mainly because I missed out on the ETBs, because at that point in time I wasn't really in my head that well, and I just didn't pre-order ETBs through EB Games and stuff like that. I should have. That's my bad. Thankfully enough, I put a pre-order in for like the surprise boxes and that kind of stuff, which have been pushed back, by the way. So I'm looking forward to those. But in terms of ETBs, I was like, oh no. And then there was like a few fortunate things where I was able to pre-order like 2 ETBs and some stuff from Big W, because they just suddenly released pre-orders without warning. And I was like, yeah, okay, because I've got some stuff coming in like maybe shortly after launch day because I got to post it out. Unfortunately, almost to make launch day even more terrible for me personally than I would imagine for a lot of people out there going and lining up. And because let's be honest, if you were lining up at a store and you missed out on product, you were not going to make it to another store in time to get product. So you had to pick one, you had to double down and pray that you're going to get enough. Because I remember being at the Toy Mate near me, and the line didn't look that big, right? The line didn't look that big, and they had a 2 per person limit. At which point, if I was staff and I saw how many people were there, I would have said, okay, guys, we have to change it to 1 per person so everybody would get something. I remember the staff member probably about after 20, 30 minutes of waiting in the line or so, like inside getting the get product, they came down, calculated, say, oh, sorry, everybody past this point, you're not getting product. And that was like 5 people in front of me. I was like, well, I mean, that could have probably been calculated beforehand, but that left me with no time to go anywhere else to hopefully get something. Um, it is what it is. I I think staff at certain shops expected this kind of thing to happen, but probably not to the concentrated effect that it did happen. So I think it took a lot of... No, let's be fair. Places like EB Games totally expected it. They knew exactly what was going to happen. Places like Kmart and Big W, like you could have started working there like in the last previous month or something. This is going to be a surprise to you. This is going to take you by complete surprise and knock you off your feet to the point you're like, I don't know what to do with this situation. So, unfortunately, to like circle back on it, scalping is inherently bad. In some cases, I can understand why it's a thing for some people and why it can be a thing for some people. It just depends on how deep you go and the nature behind it, I guess. So it's like, this is going to be it's a weird take. It's like, oh yeah, you're going to... Immediately, for collectors, scalping is terrible. Scalping is horrible. It should not exist. It's pathetic. It's sad. You can say everything under the sun. There's obviously different situations, different circumstances. It just depends on the intent. It depends on the intent. I mean, like, my opinion of people that collect sealed product, like an only sealed product, and never to open a packet, I think you guys are weird. That's my opinion, my view, but you're still collecting sealed product for you to display, not to go ahead and, like, we all make the joke of, oh, I found a 151 UPC, and I've already got one, but I found one for this amount, this price. I was like, and I'm going to keep it to maybe sell in the future. Let's be perfectly honest and clear. If you're a collector of sealed product, if you're a collector of product to open and to get packs and master sets and that kind of stuff, 8 out of 10 of you will never resell that product if that's what you justify as to buying that extra piece of product. You just can't. 8 out of 10 of you, or 8 out of 10 of us, find it hard to even fathom the idea of selling that piece of product that you have gotten. The other 2 out of 10 are people that run stalls and shops and mini businesses and, like, kind of like that. Or, like, I'll probably say, like, yeah, so basically if you're like a shop owner, you're in it for investment, you're in it for collecting as well. I would actually say 1 out of 10 people are in it for collecting and investing. And shop owners, and then the other ones are just like complete pure investing. You buy, you're the scalper. The 1 out of 10 is you're the scalper. It doesn't seem like a very like high skewed thing, but I'm talking about like people like in the hobby, not people that have just like latched on that, used to collect sneakers and that kind of stuff and resell those. So it's a very tough spot for collectors. All I can say, and my bottom line to collectors out there, if you need product for kids, for yourself, you have to be vigilant. You need to start doing a lot more research. You need to be kind of in the know, in the clue. Probably join Facebook marketplace group, like not marketplace, like Facebook groups, communities, and that kind of stuff. Do as much research as you can. It depends on how serious you are, because it's a bit of a sad nature that like a lot of people say, oh, I'm not gonna be in the hobby anymore. It's too sad. And people will be like, oh, it's just cards. It's just cards. I feel like that's unfair. You can't say that to people. It's their hobby. They could have been collecting this since they were a kid when base set came out. And for someone from base set, if someone was from base set saying they're not going to be in the hobby anymore because of stuff like this, that's sad. It's not their fault, but that's sad. It's understandable, but it's still sad that it's got to that point, because the ideology behind Pokemon collectors or scalpers running rampant on release days, running rampant on product, and when kids are around and kids are involved, are sad scenes. And it's not the title of Pokemon has become bad. It's not it. That's not it at all. It's not Pokemon has become bad. Like it's a bad hobby to be in now, or look how terrible it has become. It's not that at all. The way I view it is, people have become that bad, and that is sad. to the point of like it's one thing to get pushy or you get like, you know, a bit overhyped or whatever, but it's another thing to actually be violent, to be physically violent, to secure something like Pokemon cards, sneakers, iPhones, some other tech device, whatever. It's people that have become inherently worse. And again, it's all circumstances, all scenarios, but let's be perfectly honest. If you're that privileged to be able to go into a place and buy 50 out of the 60 allocated things in the place and then still be violent or be smug about it, then I'm sorry, inherently you're more than likely a relatively terrible person. And I don't like making these kind of videos. I rarely ever make I think this is actually the first negatively skewed video I've made discussing a topic. And I mean, I have other YouTube channels and that kind of stuff, and I don't like to focus on negative. I don't like to clickbait. I don't like to focus on the negative. Like, you know, like a game releases. It's good, but there's a lot of bad to it. I would rather focus on the good, hoping that the bad will get better. If the bad doesn't get better, well then I stop playing it. Simple as that. So to make a video like this is a bit strange for me. So I intend to actually like kind of start off this video talking about sort of the launch day and the experience behind it, and then kind of open a few packets that I managed to get. So I think I went with my sister and my daughter, and we got like 5 each. So that was like another story where we got in line, and because there were so many people, we actually missed out on hard product. We missed out on like actually getting a poster collection or two for each other. And all that was left were like loose packets that were taken out of ETBs. Now, if you think about it, poster collections are $30 each, $35 if you're going on the high end for retail. So it works out to be like what, about $12, $11 a packet, not including the promos. So, you know, it's okay. That's still pretty good, right? We got these for $15 a packet. We got these from $15 a packet. Obviously, we're paying a higher premium on launch day at a retail store. But at least they weren't going full market value, or else a group of 5 would have costed us $150. I don't think that's worth $150. And then it falls into a line of we had to pay for that, for this. And as you guys know, I've only started doing the rip and ship streams on my TikTok and my Twitch channel, and it has been so hard to get any product. And the people that I have supplied product and I bought product from, I've had to buy it at a really high premium. Like a really high premium. And it's like, the only thing you can hope is people understand how much you've had to pay. Because you're going to have streamers out there, like breaker streamers that know people. Like they know people. So they're getting stuff at cost price. And then they're selling stuff at like 3 times the value. We've seen the TikToks. We've seen that group that got product like 2 weeks before release date. We've seen those, and those ones are kind of like, you know, like, okay, that's kind of bad, because you know they got it low, you know they got it cheap. But for ones that are starting out, or like, you know, your mid range or low range, or just like, you know, your local breaker and all that kind of stuff, it's rough. Because you want to do it, but it's like at the same time, the whole point is 1, to share, 2, to secure a product for other people that can't get it, make a bit of profit on the side. Obviously, let's not chop change here. That's the whole, like, that's the end goal of it, right? Like, there has to be something out of it for everyone, including the person doing whatever they're doing. But it feels scary being one of those streamers right now, purely because the market value of this set and the allocation here in Australia especially has been so terrible, to the point it's like, you just hope people understand, and then the only thing you can do is do the best you can with pricing, where it doesn't feel like you've kind of been hamstrung and wasted your time. Because for me, it's like, I want to open a whole bunch of this stuff, but I can't. But I can't. It's highly inaccessible. It's highly inaccessible for personal, and then I've got the content to worry about. So it's like sort of like a mixed feelings on, do I open all the stuff that I bought for a higher premium or a higher rate than retail, or do I try to recover stuff and share with other people at the same time, and then hopefully the reprint saves us all. Like at the moment, if the reprint comes in like in droves, let's say hypothetical perfect world, reprint comes in droves, there's so much, try to get as much as we can, and then basically sell it back to people at barely even a markup. It's like literally sharing with you. That's the whole point. But when you've got things like Prismatic Evolutions going up, the Japanese version of Terrestrial Festival one, where it was like on release it was 85. Week 1 it went up to like 110. Week 2 it jumped up to 140. At the moment I think it's like 185 market value now per booster box. And that's also keeping in mind that there's not going to be the second or the next wave of reprints for the Japanese one is not going to be for probably about another month and a half or so. So as a collector, Pokemon does feel grim, and as a new collector it would be daunting. Like, I still consider myself a new collector, but I like to absorb information like a sponge. So I'm learning a bit every day, more every day. At the same time, I'm also learning more about the insidious side of it all. But from a collector to another collector, if you are thinking of giving up, the inner me says don't. The inner me also says you don't need to splurge right now. You don't need to panic yet. And things will get better over time, and hopefully the Pokemon Company do realize that they need to be printing a lot more. They need to be printing a lot more, and there needs to be like a better system for everything happening, because it is leaving a lot of people out in the lurch. It's easy to say don't buy from scalpers because that validates what they're doing, and it's only going to keep happening if you do that. Unfortunately, that's all whimsical thinking, because you can't get 100% of the people behind a boycott. It's just not going to happen. It's all well and good saying don't buy from scalpers and they'll be forced to sell closer to retail. It's not going to happen. You have to be realistic. It's just not going to happen. It won't. Unfortunately, perfect world scenario, it did, but it won't. And that's unfortunately the nature of this second bubble that we are in as Pokemon collectors. When it pops, I don't know, because let's be honest, this set, the next set, the set after that, and the set after that, and then I'm pretty sure it's going to be followed by the Scarlet Violet version of Crown Zenith. So it's like, well, we've got Prismatic, Journey Together, the Black and White one, the Team Rocket one, and then Scarlet Violet's Crown Zenith. This bubble's not popping anytime soon. So if you are a collector, if you want to get in on it, be vigilant. It's going to be hard because there's people have inside information. It's going to be hard getting pre-orders. It's going to be hard getting product. Be vigilant. That's all I can say. Be vigilant. And hopefully the Pokemon Company alters their printing into the future so that there is a lot more. But just be vigilant, especially if you're here in Australia, because it's hard, because we get, I'm pretty certain, and I'm not trying to pull this number out of the air, but I'm pretty certain that we get the lowest allocation in the world for product. Because I think our one trickles in from America. It doesn't even trickle in from the UK. Because it depends on what we're getting. Like, the way I say that is because of the tins. It's like the same, like a Paradox tin will be, you either got like that weird hexagon one that stands up like that, or you got that big box one that's like that. And I'm pretty sure that one there is from the UK, from the US. We get those mainly here. So most of our trickle comes from the US, where barely any of it comes from the UK. So as Australian Pokemon collector, it is rough. It's difficult because it's in the grand scheme of things, it's a small community with an even smaller supply. So demand's going to be high, and then prices are going to go high, and it is rough to be an Australian collector. In America, it's probably not as bad, but human greed always seems to come first before decency. So again, not a video I was wanting to make or even planning to make. I can't believe I actually talked this long without needing a drink of water, and I'm feeling it right now that I needed like a big drink of water. I wasn't expecting to go on this long about it, but I guess deep down, yeah, it did annoy me. It did hit that passionate side of like what is right, what is wrong, and it's also in a hobby that I'm enjoying. I haven't been in the hobby for long, but when I jump into something, I jump into something relatively like just head first without really thinking much, and then I get into it, and if I enjoy it, I'll be there, I'll have an opinion, I'll defend stuff. But yeah, again, I wasn't expecting to make a video like this. I see other YouTube creators and all that kind of stuff make these kind of videos, and like it takes a lot. It takes a bit to actually be able to sit there and formulate all this kind of stuff, and I'm not even reading off a script right now. This is all just off my head. Literally all off my head, and I don't know. You guys let me know if you guys enjoyed this kind of video, if you guys enjoyed this kind of thinking, if my views are a little bit too far-fetched, or if you guys would like more of these kind of videos in the future. Not negatively skewed, not all the time. I want this to be the last one that I make like this, like negatively skewed. I'd rather it be positive stuff, informative stuff. But let's be honest, we are in this this hobby together, and we do know that these topics are going to rise up again and again and again and again, and I'm not going to rehash again and again and again. But it will be touched base on because it needs to be changed in some way, but it's going to be hard. It's like I can't really see an easy positive way out of this unless we all get like, you know, individual emails from Pokemon Center saying we can buy product at this price that's local to this, and this is how much each person's going to get if you registered. I don't know. It's going to require some governmental control kind of stuff. But yeah, you guys take it easy. I hope you enjoyed this video. I will catch you in the next one where I actually do open those packs that I said that I got. Catch you guys later.